All right, hey everybody, Karyn Bryant here, and today I have got Jack Hermansson kicking back with me, and I'm so excited. Jack, you're such a great guy, and you're such a great fighter. Really happy to see you, and happy to have you back in action. It's been over a year.
Yes, yeah. Thank you so much, by the way, and
Yeah.
likewise. I
So,
appreciate
so
it.
how, so how ready are you to throw down with that long of a layoff?
Yeah, I'm really ready. I'm really looking forward to it. I don't think I ever had a longer layoff than that. So, yeah, itching to get back in there.
So I don't remember, was there an injury in there, or is it just that you wanted to take some time after your last fight?
No, there was an injury. So,
Mhm.
yeah, I had a back injury that forced me to pull out from the fight against Brandon Allen June last year.
Yeah.
And after that, it was just like rehab and getting back into training, and after a while, booking a new fight. So it's been a long
Right.
road, but yeah, I'm ready now.
Well, you're ready now. I mean, and that's the thing, and it's tough too, right? Because when you hear about back injuries, especially with people who like to grapple, like you guys want to rush it and you can't. Like you
Yeah,
need your back so much, and you
exactly.
can't hurry that injury healing, can you?
No, you can't. And it's the first time I ever pulled from a fight, and
Hmm.
I felt like I wanted to do the fight and then do the rehabilitation afterwards, but
Yeah.
I wasn't able to train even. And if you can't train, you can't fight. So
Yeah, and the thing about it
yeah,
is too is you don't want to fight compromised.
yeah, right, exactly. And sometimes you always do it in some way, but
Yeah.
there's like levels to it, and if it's too bad, then you can't do it.
Right. Yeah. Certainly, you guys always are going in there with a little something, a little
Yeah.
something. But, I just had this conversation, you know, with a lot, I have this conversation with a lot of fighters that sometimes you are forced to take time off and it ends up being a good thing for you anyway, right? Because, yeah, maybe you were dealing with the back injury, but there might have been some other little things that you also got time to heal up as well, right?
Yeah, absolutely. There's always two sides of the coin. So, some benefits with it, of course, but a year is a long time where I'm at now in my career. So,
Yeah.
I don't want to do it if I don't have to.
Yeah, well, and it's crazy too because I guess what it is I guess we did speak before you were supposed to fight Brendan because when I went, I was looking stuff up and I was like, oh, I just saw Jack fight. Wait a minute, what? I like it didn't click to me that the last time I saw you in December was all the way in December of 2022.
Yeah, I know. Time goes so fast. So, all of a sudden we're here.
Yes. So let's talk about this matchup with Joe Pyfer. He is a young gun. He is on the rise. He's a big, powerful guy. What do you make of the matchup with him?
I think it's a exciting matchup,
Yeah.
and he's definitely a big threat. He
Hmm.
looks really dangerous, and yeah, I think I hear a lot of hype around him, and people really believe in him. So it's a big challenge, and yeah, I'm looking forward to show everybody that I'm still one of the best, and I think I'm gonna beat him.
Well, he actually, I was looking at his Insta and stuff, and he's been training with Brendan Allen, who you were gonna fight.
Yeah,
Yeah, I mean, so he's obviously respects what a challenge you are if he's bringing in the big guns like that.
yeah, of course, and I think that we are in different parts of our career now. He's looking forward to step up and use me to get up in the rankings,
Mm-hmm.
and I need to defend my spot and show everybody that I still belong here. But skill-wise, I feel like everybody on this level is great, and I think it comes down to who makes the best decisions fight night,
Mm-hmm.
and I've prepared myself well to be able to do that.
Certainly, you have the experience in not only just overall experience, but the fight night experience, the main event experience. And that is something that, I guess until you go through it, right, people maybe don't realize how different that is, do they?
Yeah, I really agree there. It's a totally different thing to be fighting 5 rounds in training and to do it in a fight. It
Mm-hmm.
almost becomes another sport. So I think that's to my advantage if we go to the later rounds.
Mm-hmm. I'd be curious to know what your inner monologue is like during these fights. You know, like how are you? Are you a cheerleader in your head, or are you, are you a positive, like, yeah, Jack, that was awesome, or are you the kind of guy that goes, oh my God, Jack, like, what are you doing? What do you say to yourself in the middle of a fight?
In the middle of the fights, I
Yeah.
feel like the there's not a lot of conversation going on in my head, but you're so focused on the task in front of you,
Yeah.
and I have almost like a tunnel vision,
Hmm.
and uh, but it's really hard to describe what's going through your mind,
Yeah.
and it depends, of course, on the what happens in the fight as well. So if it goes bad for you, then you need to say to yourself how I'm gonna be able to turn this around, and if it goes well for you, you're kind of okay. How can I finish this?
Right.
So,
Yeah, I guess
but
it's like kind of like, are you a guy that does better with positive reinforcement or negative reinforcement? You know what I mean? When your corner guys are in there and when they're, being in your head, like, yeah, some people just respond better to feeling like they're behind or feeling like they're not doing something right, and and they want to work toward improving it, and other people only want to hear like, you're doing great, you're doing great, you're doing great.
yeah, I'm definitely more to the negative side in that way.
Me too.
I don't want to hear that, oh, there's this one classic one. He's tired. He's tired. That's the worst thing. You never want to hear that. Just like, no, he's not fucking tired. I'm tired.
I'm tired.
Yeah,
Yeah. I know. I always felt like that was such a psych out, and I felt like nobody in the room believes that. Like nobody
exactly.
believes that right now. Like
Yeah,
real.
I hate
Yeah.
that one.
Yeah. 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 So with Joe, though, it's interesting because you were talking about, confirming your position in the rankings, and we see a lot of these kind of fights now, right? The veteran and the young guy, the person who's been here for a while and the person trying to make their name. And I wonder what you think of when you watch somebody like Jim Miller, who's winning more than he, like, is
Yeah.
what, 5 out of his last 6, and 4 of those are finishes or something like that. It has to, I would imagine, like, keep you guys, you guys who have been here for a little while, like, keep you guys going, like, yeah, we know what we're doing, we still have it.
Exactly.
Yeah.
So Jim Miller is maybe the best example of it,
Yeah.
and you have a lot of other fighters as well, like Glover Teixeira, John
Hmm.
Blachowicz, and some other guys that's been becoming champions late in their career.
Hmm.
So I think that in this sport, experience has a lot to say. You can definitely do well in your later stages of your career.
Yeah, I think you guys also to learn to, like, train smarter, right? Maybe you spar less. What's your take on that, on how much sparring you do in practice?
Yeah, I still like to do a lot of sparring, but the
Hmm.
total volume of training is definitely not as high as I used to do. Before it was almost like the more the better,
Hmm.
but that approach doesn't last too long, and after a while you feel like your body can't handle that anymore.
Yeah.
But then you realize when you're doing your work smarter that you are not necessarily getting in any worse shape.
Hmm.
You just do it properly. So I think that kind of experience helps you in the training, and that's one of the keys for longevity.
I think that's really a great thing. But I do have to, I feel bad sometimes, Jack, when I talk to people about fights that didn't go their way. But
Yeah,
I want to talk to
no
you
problem.
about what happened, right? So you were on a 4-win streak. You were crushing it. You beat
Yeah.
Jacare and all this, and now, and obviously you're coming up against straight killers. But you've been alternating wins and losses, right? And so I'm curious for you, in hindsight, when you look at that, do you see things that either didn't go right in camp or leading up to it? Like, are you able to recognize if things were wrong, or is it just that you were up against guys that were just better that night?
No, there is different things in different fights. So I
Hmm.
have kind of I'm always analyzing it, and thinking about what was wrong. So I could take,
Hmm.
for example, the Jared Cannonier fight.
Hmm.
Uh, I really wanted that fight to the ground, and it got a little bit too obvious.
Hmm.
Where I was hunting for the takedown, and I shot too far away,
Yeah.
and he was able to catch me with a uppercut that sent me down, and then basically the fight was over. So that was one tactical detail there. So that's one thing that I've worked on to not shoot from too far out and not be over eager if I want the fight to the ground, but wait for the right moment to shoot. And then you have other fights. I know, like for example, when I fought Sean Strickland, that was a fight where and I don't like to make excuses, but that's just the reality of the fight. Is that I couldn't work my takedowns and my footwork good in that fight, because that was one of the fights where the canvas was incredible slippery in that fight. And it's very, very weird, because you think that it's going to be the same every UFC event, and usually like the grip on the floor is insanely good, but that time was just like throwing me off. So I couldn't. And Strickland has a more like flat-footed style, so I don't think that he's as dependent on it as I am, with a lot of movement. So when I felt that was happening, I started to feel like, okay, I can't take him down anymore with this. So I just have to throw. And so I was just trying to throw harder and harder, and I couldn't really like stick to my original game plan in that fight. So that was one thing. And then I have like a lot of ones. The Vettori fight, for example, I got caught with a punch in the first round, and after that I had like a severe double vision.
I was just going to say, could you not see? Yeah.
It was almost impossible for me to see, and I couldn't understand why either. It was just after the fight when we took the scans that I knew that I had broken my orbital bone, and that the eye kind of had sunk in, so that made the vision go blurry. So that's also one of the fights we just like, okay, I fought 5 rounds with almost not being able to see. So there is, for every loss, I feel like there's a different reason that I take from it, and all you can do is to prepare as good as you can, and hopefully things are gonna weigh in your favor. But you never know what's gonna happen in a fight. Sometimes in this Vettori fight, I know I broke my toe as well. It's just like some weird stuff that's happening in fights that you are not. That you don't know before the fights. So I can't say that I have found a red thread, going through all this, but I try to just gather all of the experience from my losses, and hopefully I've learned from them and I can adjust.
Yeah, well, no, that makes a lot of sense, because it's funny because look, you fighters are you're all badasses, right? And I know when people are like, I don't want to make excuses, but like things do really happen, and you're not saying I could have, like you're just telling the truth. Like this thing happened, and this is the result of it, and I didn't get to perform the look. I've heard the thing about the canvas from other people, like sometimes the logos for the sponsors and stuff are too, they're too slick, and that's real.
I'm not gonna. Sorry.
No, go ahead. Yeah.
Yeah. After that fight, I was just like, man, is it just me, or why haven't I heard about this before? And then I started to Google it, and I saw, okay, Aljamain Sterling had the same problem in one of his fights. So, and I know even Dana White commented on it once, that he didn't understand why that happened in a certain event and stuff like that. So it do happen, and Strickland might have won that fight anyways. That's not what I'm saying, but sometimes things doesn't go in your favor.
Right. Hey, but at least he went on to capture the title, right? I mean, so then you know what I mean. But I do, and I remember when I saw you in Florida, I was like, I don't know if Jack's weight cut was great. Like, I don't know if that one went great for you in Florida with the Deliza. Did it? It didn't seem like it did.
No, that was a terrible weight cut. That was my worst weight cut ever, actually. And it was weird because I did the same procedure as I always do, came in on the same weight as I always do, but sometimes your body just responds differently. So I couldn't get my water out of my body when I did the weight cut. So I was I had to stay way too long in the heat, so I felt like
Mm-hmm.
I was so overheated. So yeah, barely can stand on my legs when before the weigh-ins, but I did feel good on that fight day, though.
Yeah.
So yeah, in that fight as well, there's I think just a small decision in the fight.
Mm-hmm.
He's going for a calf slicer,
Yes.
and normally in training it's pretty easy to defend. You just stretch your leg and you kick it out.
Mm-hmm.
But I was a little bit over eager because I wanted to keep the top position in the fight. So I wanted to turn, and I basically put myself deeper into the calf slicer, and then it was too late. So I think that was also a tactical decision that was wrong
Mm-hmm.
for me in that fight, and that cost me the fight basically. So yeah, fair to him.
Fair to him, fair to him, and he's obviously he's fighting this weekend, against Imavov in a main event for him. So yeah, certainly on the rise. But you did pick up that win over Chris Curtis. That
Yep.
had then there was all this drama, like and I remember it was like this head scratching thing. We were like, how is Jack Hermansson in like a beef? Like, how is he in a beef in a scut? Like, what are we looking at here? Like, who is this guy?
Yeah.
But you guys were able to resolve it after the fact, right? It was just that he was kind of talking a little bit of crap after the fight.
Yeah, that was it, and it's kind of funny because Chris is also a really nice guy.
Yeah.
So it was kind of weird that we got on each other's, but yeah, I think he was just frustrated
Hmm.
from the type of fight that we had, that he
Yeah.
couldn't reach me, he couldn't get his things going. Yeah, he was just flicking his fingers towards me, and I was yelling something at him, and but that was just shortly after on the hotel we were hugging it out, so all good.
Yeah. That's good. That's good. Because yeah, I mean, yeah, it was just so unexpected and odd. Yeah, it was frustrating. And I know that. I mean, I'm wondering. I guess you probably had a baseline frustration that you were supposed to be fighting Darren Till too, right? Like,
Yeah, of course. That was also one thing that has happened a lot for me. I can't even remember how many opponent switches I had in my fights the last couple of years. So, but that's something you have to be able to adapt to as well
mhm.
as a fighter. But yeah, you rather want to be fighting the guy that you have prepared for so long in your fight camp.
Yeah, that's it. It is tough, but with Joe, at least I feel like too there is the similarity in like to me he's kind of in the Shabazian position, right? Of like he, somebody that was like got a lot of hype and like doing really really well, and then they put him with somebody, and so it does seem like it's the kind of fight where um, you know, the young gun can really learn a lesson, maybe too, right? Like it's not an easy fight for him. I feel like a lot of people might see him just kind of on a roll, and he's like I said, a big guy, and he seems like he's steamrolling everybody. But this is not an easy fight for him.
No, it isn't. I think that I'm bringing something to the table that's going to be challenging for him.
Hmm.
I usually get almost better as the fight goes, and
Hmm.
I'm able to fight well in the later rounds. And he doesn't have that experience, and he's a powerful guy. I'm more
Hmm.
of a volume cardio guy, so we're
Yeah.
kind of different in that way. So now we have to see who does it the best.
Yeah, we will. We will. So I want to ask you about. I was looking at your Insta, and you went on a hiking trip to Norway in the mountains. And it said just like
Yeah,
you brought your friend, a dog, and a tent. I was like, yeah, that sounds like.
that's it.
So what was that experience like?
Yeah, so that was many years ago. That was actually my first trip into
Okay.
the Norwegian mountains. I just photo came up on Facebook, I think, and I was just thinking about that feeling that I had when I went out there for the first time, and
Hmm.
the experience it is to come into a totally different environment that you haven't experienced before,
Hmm.
which is a really cool experience. Yeah, so when we went in there, we didn't have a goal on where we should drive, where we should
Hmm.
park, or where we should hike. We didn't have a plan at all. We just knew that were going to get out there.
Yeah.
So we just drove into uh, huge area of mountains in Norway and started to walk with the dog, and went out there without our phones, without any watch, so we didn't have the concept of time or when or where or anything. We just started
That's kind of
walking.
cool, though. I kind of love it, but it's kind of scary at the same time.
Yeah, it can be, but yeah, young and without consequences in your head. So yeah, we went out there for a week, I think, and I know that my friend's mother, since she can reach us, she was actually sending some people out for to look for us. So I think there was some hunters or something that went out there, and then when we talked to her after the trip, she said that they reported back that they saw our tent and that they got a quick look at us and saw that we were fine. So they probably watched in a binocular or something, and because we never met them.
Well, that's good. That's good. Well, plus you are kind of, I mean, you know how to handle yourself outside. That you're still an avid fisherman, right?
Yeah, I am. So, but yeah, you never know in the mountains. All of a sudden, it can get a storm can come in, or you can get lost, and yeah. But it's a cool feeling to get in there and know that you just have you need to depend on yourself and not on your phone as people are used to.
Yeah, I think that's great, and that probably makes a lot of sense. The fact that what you do for for a living, you're out there alone fighting in the wild. You know what I mean?
Exactly.
And you have learned self-reliance, and I feel like that's obviously something that you have a lot of confidence, just kind of almost probably in anything you do in life. Yeah.
Yeah, absolutely. I feel like fighting. That's one of the things that fighting gives you. That other stuff in life feels kind of easier because it's really, really hard to go out there and fight. So when you're gonna do other stuff, it kind of feel like that they are it's lower hanging fruit.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Absolutely. And I think I see too, like you, obviously, especially in Sweden, you can do it all the time. Like you're a cold plunge guy too, right? Or no?
Yeah, absolutely. So I love to get into the cold plunge and sauna and cold plunge, and yeah, it's
Are you,
ice
but
ice bathing.
do you go out on like frozen lakes though and cut your own hole and do that like Jan does? Like Jan posted something the other day. I was like, oh hell no, yeah, like no.
Yeah, it happens. It happens. I've done a couple of times this winter, or went into the ocean. It's kind of it doesn't always freezes. It gets kind of slushy.
Yeah.
So I jump in there, and but I prefer to do it with the sauna. It's more enjoyable.
Yes.
But it's good mentally to go out sometimes without the heat as well.
It is. I'm just, Jack, I'm half Jamaican. It's like the DNA on my side does not like to be cold at all. Like it's like a nightmare for me, and I know it's good for you and it's good for your health and all that.
Yeah.
But like, I know everybody's like on the cold plunge thing right now. I'm like, yeah, nah, I'm not the one. Like, not the one.
You get used to it. You have to, just start with dipping and then
Yes.
10 seconds and then, go further and further.
I've done it. Well, I'll do the thing where I will sometimes do like like you said, the sauna and the cold thing, or like the hot tub and the cold. But I'll psych myself for like 10 seconds of cold water in the shower, like, and it's no fun for me. I don't like it. Before I let you go, I have to ask you. I the other day was channel surfing. So I don't watch a lot of reality shows, but I do watch this show called Love is Blind, and they made a Swedish version. And my daughter and I were looking the other day. We're like, "Oh my God, Swedish Love is Blind!" And it was just such a funny thing to me. But I just don't know, like, I haven't been to Sweden in quite some time. Are you still living there more? Are you going back and forth between Norway and Sweden? Like, where are you hanging out most of the time now?
No, so I live in Oslo, so I live in Norway, and but I have a lot of relatives in Sweden, so I do visit, and it's quite just like a 3-hour drive to where I'm from in Sweden, so it's really close. So yeah, but I spend most time in Norway.
Nice. Okay, yeah, I was watching and I was like, oh, I bet. And my thing was, I was like, because there's a Brazilian version of that show now too, which I did start to watch so I could practice my Portuguese. And I was like, oh, this one's going to get interesting. But my first take on the Swedish one, I was like, this is going to be a very sexual show. Like, this is going to be very sexual, because every Swedish person I know, I've got some friends here in LA that I'm like, oh my God, yeah. So It's probably going to be an R-rated show, but
Yeah,
anyway,
that's
it's
like
pretty
the
funny.
sexual liberty of Sweden.
Ex- Exactly, exactly. So, but yeah, so you are already in Vegas. I'm happy for you. So that does help you to get acclimated. So you've been doing that for a while though, right? To come at least a week in advance, like more than
Yeah,
like 10 days or
so
so, right? Yeah.
yeah, now I even do 2 weeks in advance. Yeah,
Nice.
so I've been here for some days now and to acclimatize, and I start to feel better every day. So it's gonna be good fight night.
Nice, awesome. Well, I'm glad to see you back in action. It's been, just way too long. Did that help you reassess your goals or reaffirm things in your brain? Like have you set a new plan moving forward or anything like that?
Yeah, but I always keep my plans short term. It's
Hmm.
always the next goal in front of you. And since I'm coming off a loss, I just feel like I need to get the win now, and then we can
Yeah.
start to think about the next step from there. But yeah, right now it's just Joe Pyfer in my head.
Cool, cool. Well, it's going to be an excellent fight. That is the main event at UFC Vegas 86. I'm excited to be working that one next weekend. So yeah, really looking forward to seeing you back in action. And thank you for kicking back with me today, Jack. Always a pleasure. You're such a gentleman and
Thank
such
you
a
so
great
much.
fighter. It's great to see you.
I appreciate it. Thank you so much for having me. Always having a good time. Thank
Yeah.
you.
Okay. Cool. I'll see you soon.
Yep. Bye bye.
Bye.